Hello everyone, hello. This is my fourth tier list on worst video games of all time. Now this is a series that I've been doing recently. If you haven't already been on my channel or caught up, basically I'm playing the worst video games of all time on every console, yada yada, to see what truly is the worst video games of all time and have a little fun and chat with you guys. All my live streams are on my channel under the live section. If you don't already know, I don't delete them and they are saved there forever unless YouTube decides to blow up. Who the hell knows? But anyway, I did the N64 one about a week or two ago, so now we are ranking these games. And I've already did NES, SNES, and Atari 2600 to be specific. So I did not pick these games, although I technically did. I made up a list of games that I wanted to try out based on list I found. I checked a bunch of lists to see what do people think are the worst games. Also, some I've just heard about in infamy. I mean, Superman 64. I'm looking at you. You're pretty infamous. And sometimes AVGN references, but mostly just what other people said because I haven't played 90% of these games on most consoles. And every single game here I played for the first time. So for N64, we have our tier list here. Actually Good, which we might be using again. I think I used it on the Atari for the first time. Seems to be okay for games that I don't really see them actually being in the worst games discussion, but they're not good. They're just, they're fine. Mediocre, where they're not really that bad, but they're not good either. They're just kind of like your mid games that you probably wouldn't ever go back to. Bad games, which are like, yep, this is your typical bad game that you would say is bad, but not definitely not in any discussion of worst game of all time. Just a bad game. Just like, oh, that game sucked, but who cares? Dog shit. Now, these are actual games that, like, whew, this game, you're going to tell people, like, man, that game was terrible. Do not buy it. And you're like, I don't know. Maybe that could be considered for the worst games of all time. And then you have, obviously, the bottom tier where these games are literally considered the worst games ever. Doesn't matter what console they are, where they are. These are legitimately the worst games ever made. No debate, no doubt about it. And obviously this is my opinion. So now I've already went through every N64 game here and found the ones I played. I do 10 games plus a bonus. I don't know why. So I do 11. That's just what I do. So I've got 11 games here. This is just a list of every N64 game. So, first things first, what games should we rank? We could do the infamous Superman 64, but I don't know. I don't think I should start with that. Let's start with Hey You Pikachu. I think this is one of the last ones I played. This one was kind of annoying to get to work. I had to get a different emulator, which I'm not a fan of. I think it was Simple 64, which, yes, it had voice crack, mic capabilities, but I was not a fan of that one. I prefer Project 64. But it actually worked pretty well. The game picked me up okay, and I was able to get Pikachu to respond pretty well. And it does have quite a bit of charm to it. If you saw my streams, I didn't play the games for too long, but I do go back if there's anything I want to find out about the games, and I also do some like research, like what exactly people hated about the games, and if it's just like infamy. But this game is more just like, oh, like it's talked about a lot for being bad, but I didn't really think it was that bad. I think it's just like a lot of people just couldn't get the mic to work because apparently the mic's pretty infamously crappy. Obviously, since I was using a real microphone, it's still a real microphone, a better microphone on my computer. Apparently, it's actually better than the original one. I've also heard some rumors that, like, they designed the game to pick up higher-pitched kid voices. I couldn't really see that confirm that rumor. It didn't seem like it was true, so who knows? Obviously, the PlayStation thing's also a rumor. But this still is not very much of an interesting game. It is just talking to Pikachu. But as a Pokemon fan, I feel like I really kind of like it. And if I was a kid, I feel like I'd actually play the crap out of it. I mean, I played Pokemon Channel a lot, and that game's not that good either. But I played way too much Pokemon Channel. I'm not going to put in the actually good because it really is a simple game. It's very, like, I want to call it a baby game, but it's like definitely a game for like a kid to have fun with, or maybe like a super Pokemon fan, which I am. So I'm going to put it in this seems to be okay. There's nothing really wrong with it. I mean, I guess the mic could have issues, but whatever. What's next? We'll do Karmageddon. So this one, I'm a little for N64 games. I'm not gonna lie, most of these I didn't really think were that bad, in comparison to like N6, not N64, NES, SNES, and Atari. A lot of those games I'm like, ooh, these are fucking bad. But the N64 surprised me. I really thought these games were up to higher standards. Now, maybe that's because just more modern technology, the games just can't be as bad, or licensing standards, who the hell knows. But yeah, Carmageddon, I really didn't think it was that bad. It just felt like a pretty mediocre game. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it mediocre. Like, yeah, graphically wasn't that interesting. I'm not sure if the emulator bugged, but I'm pretty sure it was the game with like what was it, the miles per hour being a little weird, and like the CPUs. Like, it just felt like a really mediocre racing game, and I'm guessing people don't like it because like the other Carmageddon games were more interesting, where you're actually hitting like people and it's edgy. But I don't care about hitting zombies, I guess. I just feel like it's the definition of a mediocre game. Maybe people got disappointed by it. Who knows? Another game that I think I'm gonna have to put in mediocre is Clay Fighter. This one, this one's definitely worse. Graphically, this one's extremely disappointing for the N64. You have 3D backgrounds, but the characters are like 2D sprites, and they're not really good-looking 2D sprites. I'm not gonna lie, they look pretty bad. And the 3D environments are actually really bad. Like, they're like so basic. Like, I feel like an SNES could render these 3D backgrounds. So it looks pretty lazy. The actual combat, it's playable. I've played much worse fighting games on the SNES and NES. Well, technically the Atari too, but like what was it? Pit Fighter was it? Uh, I think it was Pit Fighter and SNES. That was bad, or was it NES? But those are just button mashers. This is an actual game you can play, but it's still not good. I mean, if you really had only one fighting game and had to play this, you could probably have some fun with it. I think the problem with this one, it just feels kind of unfinished. Like, there's no level select. You just kind of get thrown into it. For some reason, there's a time limit to click on like your characters, even though it's not an arcade game. It's kind of teetering between bad. I definitely think it's a step below Carmageddon, a big step below it. Well, not a big step, but it's a step below it, but not enough to put it on the bad because it's playable. So I think I'm gonna have to keep it a mediocre. Next up, Daikatana. Now, I did have a lot of trouble playing with this on the keyboard. To be fair, I am playing on an emulator keyboard. I think this game would work a lot better if I was using the actual N64 controller. And I know this game's very infamous with like, oh, John Romero's hyping it up and it had this big budget and kind of flopped. I don't think this game is bad at all, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd much rather play Doom or Quake, which, same kind of realm, same developers, same teams, whatever. But I didn't think it was that bad. I went back to experience what the main issue was like, where loading screens were very janky in this game, and yeah, it is kind of an issue, but they're not as common as you'd think. And I think the main issue I had was the controls, which was mainly my fault. The graphics look pretty damn good. It's a shooter game, which is designed pretty well. I mean, obviously there's much better alternatives, but I think I might have to put it in actually good. Like, by saying good, I don't mean it's like, oh, this is a great game. I just think it's like, I give it a 6 or a 7. At the time, I probably would play this quite a bit. I thought it was a very fine game. Just a solid shooter for the N64. I know the hype kind of overrepresents this game as horrible, but it really wasn't that bad. Glover's another one I'm not sure about. This game is, I really don't think it's bad. I think it just gets a lot of hate because it's like a very hard game, again, about controls, but way more so. I know the PlayStation 1 versions looked upon a lot higher, which makes sense because it controls a lot better. This one I did go back and try to get a little bit more in. I'm really not a fan of the controls or gameplay, but it does work. Graphic style wise, it's pretty nice. I really don't know if I want to put it in actually good. Maybe if you were more of a fan of like the platforming style, you might put it in actually good. But I think I might have to put it in seems to be okay. I'll put it above Hey You Pikachu because it's more of a game. But I feel like this one's just a little bit more basic and doesn't have much going for it compared to Daikatana. But I would be okay if someone put it in the actually good tier. Let's skip around a little bit more. Should we just get it out of the way? Superman 64. Um, while the controls were actually a little bit better than I expected, that does not mean they were good. They're very slippery, but I think making it on the keyboard made it a lot easier. This game's fucking barely finished, guys. Like, the graphics, there's like 5 feet of render distance. Half the game is just flying for rings, which sucks. and then you get like these shitty mini games where it's like do this in 5 seconds and it looks terrible. And then when you actually get to the game, it's somehow just as bad, if not worse. Where you had the horrible combat. Like this game's just unfinished. I kind of enjoyed playing it because it's just such an infamous game and it was funny. But I don't think I could put it anywhere above worst games ever, guys. I think everyone's pretty unanimous on it. I will say it's a lot better than the SNES and NES games I played, but it's still easily worst game ever. This game fucking sucks. I really kind of want to beat it just for fun. Maybe I'll do a stream of that. Who the hell knows? But you're not you're not getting out of this. Ooh, voice crack. You're not getting out of this tier. Your reputation precedes you. Okay, South Park game. So South Park Rally. I actually did play South Park, the other South Park game, which is somewhere here. The Snowball Fight one. I actually have it on the console. I played it before, and that was also kind of bad. But I was surprised. Almost no one really had that one on their worst list. I know it's not a very fun game. I mean, even like Matt Stone and Trey Parker talk shit about the games, but I didn't see it on any worst list. And to be fair, I could see why. That game's bad. It's definitely not a good game, but at least it's like more interesting than this one. This one definitely deserves more hate, which is what it gets because this one's just a generic kart racer and has less of the like the fun theming that the other one had, where you can like actually go around like South Park and do all these weird Easter eggs and shit. This one just pales in comparison to Mario Kart 64. It runs like shit. Graphically, it's very ass looking. Um, the theming's okay. Like, if you really want to play a South Park racing game, I guess it's okay, but it's just not that interesting. It controls. I was gonna say okay, but it's pretty mediocre control. This is probably the definition of a bad game. Like, there's not much to it. Like, it's just a bad game. Like, I would put it in mediocre, but like, oh, actually, I don't know. Like, this game just sucks. But like, is it that bad? I'm trying to remember, guys. It's been like a week or so. Like, it works. The items were all kind of like. Sorry, Cat, can you not? She just unplugged like my secondary monitor. Thank God it was my primary one. I think I'm gonna keep it in bad tier because like I feel like I enjoyed these two more. Karmageddon definitely controlled better, was more interesting, but South Park Rally, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going off gut feeling, guys. All right. Next up, Paperboy 64. This game's graphics, uh, it's bad. Like I don't know what they were going for with this weird stylization. It looks like a badly rendered like 80s Pixar short or something. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of enjoyed this one. Like maybe I'm weird or crazy, but I've never been a huge fan of the Paperboy games. I actually think they're kind of shitty. I think they're like a little hard in the bad way where it just doesn't control well. This is the first Paperboy game I kind of enjoyed. Am I weird for saying that? I think I'm gonna put this in the seems to be okay tier. I'll put it. It's definitely. Yeah, I'll put it there. Like graphically, this game looks like absolute dog shit. It is very simplistic, and there ain't much to it. But like, it's a paperboard game on the N64. Like you can do everything fine. The controls are actually surprisingly okay. I think it's just a game that gets a little bit too much hate. I guess. I mean, uh, maybe I'm crazy. Who the hell knows? But I'm putting it in the CSB okay tier. See, as you can see, N64, I didn't hate I didn't hate the stream that much. Although I didn't hate the other streams. I enjoy playing these games because they're just so funny. Let's see. Batman. This was just a very, very mediocre like beat 'em up game. Would I put it in dog shit? Let me think. Like it had some promise of like, oh, there's all these suits and stuff, but it really didn't change the game that much. The bosses were extremely basic. I don't think it was that buggy or anything. It was definitely better than the SNES one. I think I'm also gonna put in bad. There's just a very little to this game. I feel like it's just a very bland game. It's also not that like graphically interesting for the N64. I think I'm gonna put it below South Park because like, maybe it's above. It just has very little going for it, but like it does what it needs to do fine. But like it feels like a little unpolished with like how basic it is. Like those bosses are just so simple. I might come back to this, guys. I think I'm gonna put it above South Park for now, but just for like I think the graphics look nicer. and it got its stylization from the show better, but who knows. Next up, Power Rangers. This game looks pretty bad, and I feel like it's the most kid-like game here. Like, this game feels like it was made for babies. But, I mean, it does when it needs to, okay? I mean, it's really not good. Like, that fire, or whatever, that level where like, you're in the cars, because it just keeps going through, like, the same minigames. That one where you're in the car is really bad, and that might bring it down the dog shit. If the game didn't have that level, it might just be bad. Because, like, the ones where you're just walking around as the Power Ranger is, like, really lame. But it's, like, it works, I guess. That car level sucked. I think this one's dog shit. Like, this feels like a very, like, game made for just little kids, but it's not even, like, a good one. It's extremely simplistic. Graphically, it sucks. Controls, I guess, are okay. Except for that driving game. Like, seriously. Watch the stream. You'll see what I'm talking about. Um, if I remember correctly, as the Power Rangers, you have, like, stuck to this kind of weird grid. You're kind of just walking around trying to find the guys to shoot them, and boom, you're done. I won't put in worst comes ever because like it does what it needs to. Like it works on like Superman 64, which barely works. But this game's really bad. Like it has almost no redeeming qualities. It's just so bland. Like as a Power Rangers fan, which I'm not, but like I feel like a Power Rangers fan would not enjoy this at all. Like at least South Park Rally has like more theming to it. This really doesn't. Um, yeah. And the last game, Sub Zero or Mortal Kombat Sub Zero. Jesus Christ, what is it called? Mortal Kombat, like Sub Zero Anthologies or Sub Zero Mortal Kombat. You know what it's called. This game, this game pissed me off the most. Now, where am I going to put it? Well, it's either dog shit or worst games ever, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's worst games ever. This game fucking sucked. It's basically a Mortal Kombat platformer, which, if you don't know, Mortal Kombat is a 2D fighting game, and they did not change the controls that much. Cat, can you get out of my face? I'm sorry, guys. Cookie, my cat, is literally in my face wanting attention right now. And the platforming does not work well at all. The graphics are okay, I'll give it that. The fighting is just very bland. Like, it's Mortal Kombat, but you have none of the moves and you have to, like, unlock them. And the enemies just spawn in and just die instantly. Like, the enemies are actually very easy, except for one part where they just love to knock you into instant kill zones, which is what brings this game down so hard. Those instant kill zones are horrible, and they make the game almost unplayable. Like, it's so hard to avoid them because like the game's like programmed to piss you off. Like you get near them, they don't go down, but you walk through. You're like, oh, so I run through it. No, you get hit anyway. You try to wait it out, an enemy just spawns and knocks you into it. It's just like, what the fuck? And then you have the platform, which is just so horrendous with the bad checkpoints and the bad bosses. I think this one personally pissed me off more than Superman 64, but I'm not sure if I could put it below it, even though I enjoyed it way less. I think graphically it's better than Superman 64 and it's more finished, but those insta kill zones make this game so unplayable. So I'll put it just above Superman 64, but this game fucking sucked. But yeah, I think that's gonna end our tier list. Let me double check. Batman Beyond. I think I'm okay with this list, alright? I know I said I might change some things, but looking back, this is about where I put it. Like, yeah, my opinions might change, and obviously if you guys have opinions of your own, feel free to let me know. I mean, I haven't beaten any of these games. I mean, I doubt I'll go back to most of them. I probably would go back to Hey You Pikachu because I'm a big Pokemon fan. I definitely would go back to Super 64 just to beat it. The rest of them, probably not, but let me know what you guys think. Are there any bad games that I missed out on that I should have played? Let me know, because there were some that almost made it. I don't remember what they are right now, but, like, there were some other close ones. So yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for my next live stream, which I will be doing the worst PlayStation games, PS1, if you didn't know. I really want to do Bubsy 3D, which I actually mistakenly said I was doing that in the N64 one. I don't know why I said that. I know it's a PlayStation game. But yeah, we're going to be doing that next. And then I'm not sure what we're going to do. Maybe we'll keep going Nintendo, like do GameCube, or maybe PS2. We'll think about that in the future. Anyway, thank you for watching. Check out my live stream for the N64 live stream or any of the other ones. And check out my Ghosts and Goblins live stream if you want to see me try to beat that. I'll continue that tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.